My name is Dr. Michael Brown, and this is 3 Words, a bite-sized podcast about the strategic choices that any of us can make in order to be fully alive and to make a significant difference in the world. And that is the conversation today with my son, Dr. Justin Brown, is how do we know our place? How do we step into the space and places that are before us, that are important to us, that we're passionate about in order to make a difference? I think you'll enjoy this episode. Listen in. Justin, I'm excited to have you back here in the studio and to engage in a really significant conversation today. So kick us off with our 3 words for this discussion.
Yeah, today's 3 words are know your place.
And why, my son, are these so important to you?
Yeah, well, I've been raised to be convinced, Dad, that one of my most important and urgent responsibilities in life is to fight for justice. And unfortunately, there is injustice all around us. It's everywhere. And there are only so many ways that I can fight for justice. I can't fight for every injustice that exists all around me. So in order for me to be my most effective in the fight for justice, I need to narrow my focus to the size of my unique calling, my unique capabilities, and also my capacity.
That's interesting that you say that, because oftentimes when I hear that phrase, know your place, it's where you're saying to someone, don't be speaking about this and don't be entering into this particular battle, or stay in your lane. Mm-hmm. You'll hear oftentimes it's like, why are you talking about this or that when you should be focusing on the things that you're an expert in? Talk to me more about that.
Yeah, I think that you hear this a lot, especially when professional athletes will speak up about a specific political issue or maybe endorse a candidate or speak about a specific type of injustice. And people will basically say, shut up and put your helmet back on and get back in the game. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure as you work with college and professional athletes that you would say that they can bring more to the world, that they can have value, that they can make a difference beyond just the game that they play.
Oh, for sure. An athlete is more than their touchdowns or their home runs. They actually can find their voice and be able to speak about important issues. And I love when they do. And I know that it sometimes is really challenging for folks who are listening to that going, wait, don't do that. It's because they feel threatened.
Yeah.
Is because people do not want their views and their values challenged. And I think in many ways, knowing your place and speaking about these things is really, really helpful. So why is this important to our listeners? It's important to you.
Yeah.
But why is it important to our listeners to think about this idea of knowing their place?
Yeah, I think that for many of us, that we allow others to dictate for us where is our place and where we belong, instead of choosing for ourselves and making a decision for ourselves about, gosh, where do I belong? Specifically within the context of where is my voice? Where is not just the space that I can exist, but where is the place for me? I believe that when it comes to the fight for justice, there's not just a space for all of us, but there's a specific and unique place for each of us. I think that those that when they are trying to discourage us from speaking out about a specific issue, they're supporting not just the status quo, but they're often supporters of injustice. And as a result, I think that many of the times that people are saying, hey, stay in your lane, know your place, oftentimes, they feel threatened about if we find our place, what are they going to lose in the process when we find this place and fight for justice, and what they might feel threatened by that. And I think oftentimes when people say, know your place, occasionally we can find that is exactly where perhaps our place is, the place that they're discouraging us from being.
I'm going to hit pause right now in my conversation with Justin to encourage you to think about, in all of these various areas of injustice, social issues, or things that you most care about, where do you want to begin to become more educated, more proficient, and to be able to lean into those places and spaces that are important to you? Now back to the conversation. I'm guessing even some of our listeners and viewers, Justin, are even listening now and going, okay, I don't even know what my voice is or what my place is. How do I find that voice?
Yeah.
How do I find that place? I'm guessing it's connected in some way to that sense of calling, to that sense of core values. You mentioned obviously being raised in a family where we talk about justice, but there's those that are probably listening who have a variety of other interests and values, and they're thinking, how do I tie my passions and my activities and maybe even my generosity to some of these places in spaces where I can make a difference.
Yeah. So I guess let me share where I feel like my place is.
Okay.
I think that I, in many ways, have come to this over the years, and my place becomes more focused over time and also broader over time, so I think simultaneously. So as a family doctor, a large part of my place is providing excellent healthcare to the currently 520 patients who call me their family doctor, many of whom have been impacted by various degrees of injustice. And then specifically, not just within the context of health for those specific individuals and advocacy as it relates to the broader healthcare system and the health of our communities, but I think also in my role as the medical director at several jail and correctional type facilities, that I feel that my place is to honor and respect the dignity of people who have been impacted by our unjust systems of policing and imprisonment and incarceration. And I think that you'll find me and see me on my platforms and using my positions and my power, that all that is at my disposal, I want to advocate for and to educate about and to help to bring about more positive change in some of those more specific and unique spaces where I find myself.
I love that, son. And I am curious, though, particularly as you begin to kind of rattle off all of these various issues and injustice in the medical industry and so forth. I'm guessing at times you get pushback where people are saying, stop or settle down.
Right.
Do you get some of that?
Yeah, I think that especially when I first began to speak out about police brutality within Black communities, that it was kind of like, aren't you a doctor? Like, where is this in your place? But I think over time, I think I took that feedback of know your place and began to identify, yeah, I can see how this might not be my lane, but I think that this is something that could become my lane, that this is something that I'm passionate about, that I'm identifying, and I'm recognizing that, man, there is a place for a family doctor in the correctional setting to be able to be knowledgeable about the impact of police brutality and over-incarceration in our society, because I'm caring for many of those people who have been impacted by that. So I think initially, as I started to speak out about some of these things, it seemed less my place, but I became someone who not just was finding my place, but actually began to embrace it.
Well, and not only are you passionate about these issues, you have become proficient in these issues, because I'm guessing if any of us who are kind of thinking about where is my place and where is my voice and how can I make a difference, it's not just enough to be passionate. We probably should begin to do research, to study, to become educated, which obviously as an avid reader, as someone who's continually learning and growing, you're identifying this is my place. And so I'm actually going to expand my knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm going to expand my perspective. I'm going to read different kind of ideas and literature around or research around this particular issue, because you've been posting not just about things that you feel and have convictions about, but things that you're learning and things that you're seeing and obviously tying those into your experiences. So I think it's the education as well as the experiences that you pull together to be able to not only find your place and to know your place, but to expand this space in which you serve and are fighting injustice.
Yeah, and I would add too, I think a large part of knowing your place is being able to say and to have awareness of what is not my place. I think that we've done episodes about practice saying no, and I think about this idea of that I can only fight the battle that is right before my eyes. I can only be most effective at the battle that is uniquely made for me. So I think that there can be a bit of a pressure in our society that specifically within the space of justice, that if I'm not posting about every single thing that's happening in the politics, does that mean I don't care about that thing? Or does that mean that I'm a bad person because I'm not speaking out about every single specific issue? And I am learning to feel that I have freedom and I don't have as much obligation as I used to feel to speak up about every single thing, but that I can be able to say, you know what, this is not in my lane, and this is something that, occasionally you can acknowledge as it relates to maybe what my place is, but not every single thing needs to be my place. You're not going to hear me. I'm not learned in economics and in foreign affairs in such a significant way that you're not going to hear me posting about or seeing me talk about crypto regulations. I just don't know anything about that. And if people feel that that their place is to talk about crypto, I think that that's great for them to have that awareness that that's their place. But I don't need to feel the pressure that just because something is someone else's place, that doesn't have to be my place too. And I don't have to judge other people for the fact that they're not speaking up about healthcare issues or police brutality and over incarceration, because I'm mindful of the fact that everyone has a place in this fight for justice. And just because someone's place is different doesn't mean it's not of great importance.
Oh, this is all fantastic. What a conversation. Because you're also not just highlighting the fact that there are those who want you to maybe, like you use the phrase, shut up and settle down.
Yeah.
But there's those who might say, why aren't you saying more? Why aren't you posting every day?
Yeah.
This thing happened 3 weeks ago and you haven't commented on this yet, or you haven't made a public declaration of your conviction in this area.
Sure.
It's learning to be able to not just know your place, but to be confident in your place and to be secure without the need to compare yourself or to succumb to the critics around you who say you should be doing less, you should be saying less, you should be doing more, you should be saying more, but to actually feel that sense of self-assurance and confidence to be right where you are and to be you.
Yeah. I had a friend recently, I have a group of friends that I meet with regularly, and one of them was sharing that, hey, I think one of us should run for the school board. And he said, it's not going to be me, but I think one of us should do that. And I think I was thoughtful about it, and I was able to say to myself, I could do this thing. Could this be my place? Could something to do with my unique calling and capabilities fit into this? And then I'm able to say, running for the school board, education, I care about the quality of our public school systems in the city of Akron, Ohio. But I don't feel that there's this sense of deep pressure in a sense that I have to make it my place, because I have a clear sense of what is my place and what is not my place.
Well, and there's a difference between acknowledging this is something I could do versus something I should do. And so oftentimes people are making suggestions of things that are coulds versus you in your heart and your mind and your soul going, no, I should. And it's also interesting when someone ever says to you, even if I can take that a step further and says, you should do this, it's something that probably isn't resonating deep within you, but it's something that is so important to someone else. And we do live in a society where there's a lot of judgment.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sense that my values and my voice and the things that I care about, everyone should embrace in the same degree, in the same manner that I do. And that's concerning.
Yeah.
Well, as our listeners are obviously trying to even think, I'm guessing as they're listening to you, son, about their place, whether it's in justice or healthcare or cryptocurrency, as you mentioned, or finances or economy or global affairs, help them think about this for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the greatest encouragement that I would have is to think about, what is it that you are passionate about? What type of injustice, when you see it, feels that it burns this fire in you that makes you want to fix that problem or solve that problem, or say, why is nobody doing anything? Can someone do something? And that oftentimes that we who are feeling deeply that something needs to be done can actually do something about that. And occasionally our profession might not align exactly with what that specific thing is, if we're already established in kind of the world of our career. But that doesn't mean that we can't take it on as, this is a thing that I'm going to read 10 books on this topic, or I'm going to attend a meeting that is about this topic, or I'm going to attend a protest that's about this topic, or I'm going to join a specific organization that we can begin to, as we identify our place, that we can figure out and find different ways that we can be engaged in that specific space.
I know we were chatting a little off camera about Martin Luther King, and I was really inspired by kind of the story we were talking about. Can you share that even as you wrap up?
Yeah. So Martin Luther King, at the end of his life, he began to, in a sense, expand what he and others perceived to be his place. That he's quoted as saying that a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I think it stands in one way in opposition to this conversation of know your place, because Martin Luther King, his place throughout his life was civil rights, and that there would be greater rights for African Americans in our country. But as he reached the end of his life, he discovered that the battle of fighting for civil rights for Black people was so deeply intertwined with the fight against poverty, which in many ways was a fight against capitalism and the negative consequences and the unequal distribution of wealth in our society. And he also became a very, very strong kind of anti-war speaker and advocate, that he would speak out about how the United States should not be in the Vietnam War, for example. And people said, Martin Luther King, what are you doing? You are muddying the waters. Like, this is your place. Civil rights is your place. Stop trying to add in all these other things that are going to make it difficult for people to see what is really most important. But he identified and recognized that his place was narrow in a way, that it was about civil rights and it was about justice, but it was actually broader than he at first anticipated. In a similar way, for myself, I think that it's important for me to be able to dip my foot into the waters of other types of injustice that maybe I hadn't perceived to be my regular old main place. I want to be well-versed in all sorts of different types of justice, but I'm not going to talk much about cryptocurrency, but as a physician who cares about the health of people and communities, you're still going to hear me say, free Palestine. And you're going to hear me acknowledge that in 2024, over 100 children in Palestine were shot in the head by Israeli military. I'm not claiming to be someone who knows everything about this particular issue, and I'm not making that my place, but that doesn't mean that aspects of that and components of that can uniquely fit into my place and the way that I see myself and the way that I see what is important for me to do when it comes to the fight for justice.
Well, I appreciate you encouraging me, our listeners and viewers, to really open their eyes and to begin to look within, to explore and to begin to ask the questions, what for me? And what now? And what then? And to really be able to think about, wow, what is my place? What is my voice? How can I make a difference in the world? And son, I appreciate not only your confidence and your self-assuredness as you think about your place as you're now in your 30s, but to be able to take such a humble posture and to be able to continue to be open-minded and exploring and educating yourself. I think about even our episode on Vote for Others was very provocative, and we got a lot of pushback on that. And it was another episode where you were just seeking to speak into the place, obviously, that tied into your medical profession. But I think for all of our listeners and viewers, it's about stepping into your place, really determining this is the voice I want to have, and without judging others and expecting others to feel the same or believe the same or even be as passionate about the things that you're passionate about. So I think the primary encouragement is to be able to say to our listeners and viewers, it's time to really explore and to begin to kind of chart out for yourself, what is your place? So thanks for the conversation today, son.
Thanks, Dad.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Justin, and we would invite you even at this point to go to dmbcoaching.com/subscribe. We send out a monthly newsletter, a digital newsletter where we provide more resources and ideas and insights for you to become the very best version of yourself. With that said, see you in a couple of weeks.